Hello and welcome everyone to the Flux Dev Meeting.
Yeah, so quick recap of what happened last week at KubeCon. We had 10 maintainers joining the conference. It was great to spend the whole week with everybody. I never was at the KubeCon where so many Flux maintainers were at the same place. That was the first for me. I had a talk with Sanskar about Flux and Flagger. It was the first time seeing Sanskar face to face. That was also awesome. We also had the security slam for Flux. That and based on that, we have some great documentation and fixes to our workflows. We are currently doing self-assessment effort for tag security, and yeah, we are getting closer to deliver that. Yeah, major thanks to Thomas for helping us with this self-assessment doc. He had like 90% of the things ready at KubeCon, which was incredible. I know he told me like, oh, I worked on the doc till 2 a.m. Like, damn. Okay. Other things, I went to Telco Day, which was a co-located event, day 0. There was a really nice talk from people at Orange on how they use Flux to deploy network functions. Kingdom, maybe we can add that talk and the maintainers track talk to the
Resource.
Flux CD website.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
let
I could
me.
start looking for those. Are they, they usually take at least a couple days to get published, right?
So the
Or,
telco days are already there.
oh,
It's already published because I've seen it on LinkedIn. Mm, okay, I found it. Let me post it in chat.
yeah, I can start putting together a list of those things and put PRs through.
Yeah. So I if you can save this to the doc so we don't lose the link, I pasted in the chat. And yeah, we need to look on YouTube and see if the maintainers track the recordings are published. Okay. Other things that are happening, we are getting close on approving the multi-tenancy workload identity RFC. We have Paulo and Dipti who approved the RFC. I'm going to do one more read of this and approve it. I looked over it yesterday, didn't found anything out of place anymore. Yeah, maybe the flag. I'm not sure. I'll think and probably propose a different naming for the flag that turns on this feature. But besides that, yeah, great job, Mateus, on this. Um, hey, Victor, you want to? We have two Victor, Victor Lu and Victor Nagy. Do you want to introduce ourselves?
Okay, then I will go first, seemingly. Yeah, so I know Stefan and Kingdon from my time at GitLab, where I was the product person behind GitLab picking Flux CD for its integration. And yeah, I have some more free time these days, so I thought to try to be a bit more active in the Flux community. That's why I joined.
Thanks, thank
Yeah,
you, Victor.
this is Jeremy. I'm based in Tampa, Florida. Um, actually, been involved in other community that talk about Flux. So I'm here just to listen. In particular interested in because AI is hot topic. What Flux will do when it comes to AI governance, like extend the threat modeling to detailed trust model analysis, for example.
Yeah, so currently the Flux relationship with AI is we've seen more and more organizations using Flux to deploy infrastructure for AI. We've also seen so Flux has this OCI artifact type where you can do Flux push and publish artifacts to a container registry, and then Flux source controller brings them inside the cluster, and we've seen this used for applying all sorts of policies and enforcing policies on top of AI workloads. The company I'm working for, Control Plane, which is a security-focused company, will soon publish an AI reference architecture guide on how to secure AI workflows, and it will also showcase Flux and how you can do that. Yeah, using Flux for not only deploying infrastructure, but also using Flux for applying policy and enforcing all sorts of best practices around this. So yeah,
Awesome.
that's
Is there a current threat modeling documentation for Flux?
what do you mean?
Oh, like threat model for Flux.
Thread model. Yeah, we have a bunch of security docs around the Flux security posture, multi-tenancy, and so on. We had two security audits on Flux sponsored by CNCF with different threat models that look at different things inside the Flux controllers. Yeah, that's about it. We don't have a official threat model published or maintained for Flux. I'm not sure if there is any CNCF project that actually does that. Since the project is alive, the threat model will have to be continuously, kept up to date. I don't know. I'm open to suggestions, but I'm not sure if we as the maintainers of Flux should do a threat model doc on it. What
Sure.
other
Yeah.
projects have you seen doing that?
I know it's hard because it's the two. I mean, threat model is not usually developers do themselves. I agree. So, but the reason I bring it up is maybe when it comes to AI governance, it's no longer just software. This model data, the CI/CD pipeline, which Flux also manage, infrastructure. So it's get more complicated. So there's no clear definition or direction what need to be done at this point. So that's why I'm just asking, But I think the paper, article your company published could be interesting. The contemplating.
Yeah, I think it's up to security organizations to build this thread model, not up to Flux maintainers to do it. We are already overloaded with so many other things. This is especially talking about Flux and AI from a thread model perspective is not something that I envision myself doing anytime soon.
Yeah,
It's definitely out of my scope and expertise.
I agree. It's the same problem everywhere. Yeah, thanks.
Oh. Okay, do we have things on the agenda or people that want to talk next?
Yeah, I just posted the agenda link. Thanks for asking, Victor. If anyone needs access to the agenda, if you don't have access to add something, you can submit a request and I'll receive it. But you're also welcome to just type in the chat or raise your hand or speak up.
Well, maybe just mention that we have the pull request and customized controller for immediately reacting to dependencies. I have already reviewed it and there's some changes there. And then I guess we need to test it a bit. But it's a very good contribution, right? I think it has the potential to improve cluster bootstrap time a lot, decrease the latency and the time waiting on dependencies and everything.
So I can take this requeue dependency customization out of my patches.
Yep.
So
Cool.
what?
There's
what-
one of the customization patches that we suggest people make is to change requeue dependency from 30 seconds to 5 seconds,
Yeah.
which
this
but wouldn't help as much.
This improvement is more about reacting immediately.
Yeah.
Like the moment dependent. So first the dependent will actually not run. Then if one of the dependencies becomes ready, it signals all the dependents, hey, now you can run because I'm ready. So it should reduce the reaction time close to 0.
Yeah.
But of course, there is a matter of concurrency and parallelism. If you have hundreds of customizations waiting for hundreds of other customizations, they will not reconcile immediately because the default concurrency is 4, right? So depending on the scale that you are running, you'll still have to increase the concurrency, give more CPU cores to customize controllers so you can actually process things in true parallel and not just, concurrency on a single CPU thread means everything is stuck in there. Go will run things concurrently in a way that if, let's say, a routine that reconciles the customization has to wait for network or disk, then another one will move forward while the previous one is waiting on, downloading the artifact from source control or stuff like that. But still, in order to have like this smooth bootstrap experience, depending on the scale of how many customizations you have, how deep is the dependency tree, you still need to increase concurrency. But for, I would say, common use cases, when you have infrastructure customization, infrastructure config, and apps, and one depends on another, with the default concurrent 4 and I don't know, 2 CPU cores, this should be actually have no delays between reconciliations. You should just feel like everything
Visible
goes
improvement.
especially if you didn't change the defaults. I expect at least 1 minute faster because with the 30 seconds delay, you usually wait 1 minute for nothing, right? Even if the things have become ready.
Yeah.
Now, we also have this dependency mechanism in Helm controller. So after we test, merge the customized controller one, we could consider adding that watcher to Helm controller as well, because it has basically the same
thing.
If for some reason people use depends on between Helm releases, you'll want them to react, have a consistent behavior throughout all controllers. So
Yep.
maybe we can ask that person, Mateus, after you test customized controller, we approve it. Maybe you ask him, hey, can you do basically the same stuff for Helm controller? I think it's like the code should be identical. You just add a watcher, you add an index on depends on, and yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to discuss today is so we shipped a breaking change in Flux without being aware of it.
The secrets thing?
No, the Stanver thing.
Oh, right. I think I saw that.
Yeah, so we bumped on the last Flux 2.5 release. We, like always, we go through all our dependencies and we get them to latest. If we have a dependency that has a patch bump, we don't actually go and read all the code. We just assume, okay, we read the changelog. We assume there are some bug fixes, no breaking changes. But this time, the package that we use for Semver expressions, which is part of Helm, but the package is called Mastermind Semver. In a patch release, they enforced a strict restriction on Semver, where so people are using timever as Semver. It's very bad. People should not be doing that, but whatever. Everybody does it. Is there Helm used to work with this stuff for, I don't know, so many years. Basically, if you have a version that goes like 2025.01.02, it used to be a valid Semver, but this is not a valid Semver. So according to the Semver specification, you can't have 0 prefixes to numbers. It should be 2025.1.2. So the change was in the Mastermind Semver package was that we no longer consider valid these types of formatting for Semver, which broke Flux automatic upgrades for Helm charts. What happened was that people are using this format, and now they can no longer use Semver ranges, because the Semver package will say, oh, if it's 0 something, that's not valid semver, and it drops that version. Now we need to make the decision if we should roll back the patch version in source controller dependency, do a patch release of Flux by downgrading this package to fix this, or my first approach to this issue was, hey, the fact that we had semver with 0 prefixes and that was allowed is a bug. So the fact that was patched in a patch release is not, it's not that bad. But I'm seeing more and more Flux users being effective of it, and it's up for debate. We can downgrade, backport this in source controller 1.50 and release at some point a new patch of Flux 2.5.2 with this fix. Any opinions?
Well, so we downgrade the lib version to backport and release the patch. But then we work with them to, like, we're gonna be stuck in this version of the library, or how do we proceed about, keeping up to date with the library?
We wouldn't be stuck with this version. We will undo it now in 2.5. We will upgrade it to latest in 2.6. If this is not fixed upstream in semver, then we will announce it in our changelog, and that's it. But the problem right now is that we've released Flux 2.5. We weren't aware of the breaking change. Hence, we never documented it. People discovered,
Right.
oh, damn, Helm chart automatic upgrades are broken for me. And they came to and say, hey, this is a breaking change. We weren't aware. Maybe we would have not upgrade to Flux 2.5. And we've come up with a solution in our CI and everything to fix it before deploying
Right.
2.5, right? So I think our fault is we missed the breaking change. We didn't document it. And that, I think, is reason enough to decide now, okay, we are going to undo it. And in the next release, we are going to stay on latest, but this time we are going to tell people in the changelog, hey, this is happening.
Right.
You should remove the 0 paddings from your versions, and only then,
Before you
and
upgrade,
after
yeah.
that, before you upgrade, right?
Right. Yeah, that's fair. Sounds good.
So has there
Okay.
been anyone asking for permanent relief? Like, are there prominent open source projects that publish versions this way that are unlikely to change, that users wouldn't have control over?
I don't know. And why would we care in the end?
Well,
Like
I'm just
semver, the
like
semver
thinking,
specification is very direct. It tells you that you can't have 0 paddings.
yeah, and anyone who came into the channel for support, I would have told that's not a valid semver. So
Yeah.
yeah. But we do support Calver in other places. Right, with alphabetic sort and image update automation, you can use Calver. So
Oh,
would
yeah.
we ever consider adding an API flag to say parse Calver? And
No.
no. All
No,
right.
because Helm versioning is semver, not Calver. This is about Helm. this is about Helm controller and standards and so on, right? So,
And the same bug has been fixed in Helm, and they're not going to change it back.
but Helm does not do automatically upgrades because Helm is a CLI. That's why they change it in a patch version and they don't, their users are not affected, right?
I get
This
it.
is
Yeah.
this is affecting us. It has broke Argo CD. If you look at their repo, all the people are saying the same stuff there. So this kind of broke every single controller that, you know, you tell the controller, find the latest version of the Helm chart and do the upgrade for me. How you find that is using a Semver expression that's interpreted by this Semver package, which is used in Helm. And all of a sudden, this Semver package says, no, I can't determine latest because none of these versions are actually Semver. Error.
So
Or
if you
it doesn't
if
even
you
give you
just
an error. It gives you an empty list, right? It's not an error.
if you just Helm install these Calvert charts, does anything unusual happen? Do they get rejected by the Helm installer?
They will. In the next Helm release, yes, they will.
Okay.
Yeah, because Helm will Helm bumped, I think, in their main, but they didn't do a release with the latest Semver version, the package. And there is also this argument that Flux users have, like the Helm version that is advertised by source controller does not contain the Semver new behavior. We just updated all packages, right? And Semver, it's our own dependency. So that got bumped. It's not synchronized with the latest Helm release. And this is yet another argument to roll it back and do the bump when Helm does the next release, right? And they have to document it. If you do a Helm install and you don't specify any version, the Helm CLI will not be able to find the latest one because there is no Semver there, right? Okay, so we decided we are going to create a pull request in source controller, undo the version, go to the same version as the latest Helm CLI has, which does not have this enforcement. We backport it in source controller and we are going to ship it in the next patch release of Flux. And we should be doing that by the end of the month and not wait anymore because people are kind of stuck in this situation. Okay.
And then the next major version would introduce officially this breaking change.
Yeah. I mean, I see no way how we can be stuck on older versions.
Yeah,
but we should
if
definitely.
this is the standard in Helm. I will become the standard in Helm. I think that's totally fine.
Yeah, and yeah, we need to keep an eye on the latest Helm, the next Helm release. See if they bumped the Semver package there. If they did, we should also do it in Flux 2.6. Document the breaking change and say, hey, this is what it is. It's not due to us. This is what the Semver spec is all about. Helm has restricted, so we are going to apply the same restriction.
The other question to me is that you said 2.6, so it's actually a minor release with a breaking change.
Yeah, but as with Kubernetes, the major release has no meaning.
Okay.
We are not going to do Flux version 3.
Okay.
Not in the next 5 years, or at least. So major versions are in the CNCF space are more about either you do a total rewrite of something or you never bump it for any other reason. I don't think Kubernetes will ever get a 2.0, even if there were like major breaking changes all the time. So a minor version bump can come with breaking changes. That it is what it is.
Isn't it ironic that we are discussing this because of
We're
a
changing
change in
somewhere.
somewhere,
Yeah.
and we are disrespecting somewhere by
Yeah,
doing
and the Semver package shipped a major breaking change in a patch release.
That was a bug.
It's all over the place,
Release.
right?
nothing
That's the bug
matters.
fix.
Nothing matters. Let's
No,
just
but
use
there is
numbers.
a difference. There's a difference between a breaking change that we introduce and one that comes from a dependency.
Yeah, yeah.
And we can't be bumping our major version for every dependency breaking fix.
Yes, and we can also not move forward, right? If Helm does a new version, we are not going to stick on the old version forever just because we don't want
Yeah.
to break something. That's impossible, right? So we actually in Flux we never ship such a breaking change in our own APIs. All the breaking changes that we had in Flux came from various dependencies that we had. But in terms of
You
backwards compatibility, our APIs actually are fine. You can upgrade even today from Flux 0 point something to 2.5 and it will work.
you know what needs an update? Semver itself to to support all
Why?
of this, to support all of these, like this thing we're doing in the CNCF projects you just said. Or maybe we just call what we do that maybe there's another standard that is not Semver. That's what we do, and
I just
it's
linked
actually
it in
another
the chat.
name.
It's called Breakver.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's not a very complicated spec. It defers to Semver on almost everything, except for one thing.
Yeah, so if we decide this, we have some other things that have been backported in various controllers, various fixes.
Yep. Customized controller, right?
Notification controller, we have the sanitize proxy error. So source controller, we have this Semver fix. Yeah, so we need to make a list, go through all the controllers, see where we had backported something, then create an issue for releasing Flux 2.5.2 and have a list of the controllers that will be included there. For sure will be source controller and notification controller, what I know now because I have them fresh in my mind, but
And customized controller.
did we backported anything in customized controller?
Yes, we backported the controller runtime 20.4
Oh yeah.
and our changes to use an impersonated REST mapper in the impersonator. So both things.
But you did it in one pull request, right?
Yeah. Two things, just one.
Is this one? This one, right?
Yeah.
How about we do another thing? How about we bump runtime? We update runtime in all controllers and we do a patch release with all of them. So we don't have. I really dislike having runtime on various versions in a release because it's the core of the Flux runtime is the core of everything. So if there is a problem there, I would prefer to have it everywhere or nowhere.
Sounds good.
And this one from customized controller is the latest version that we released, right? Of runtime.
Yeah, 20.4, unless they release yet another one recently.
No, I'm
Very
talking
recently.
about Flux package runtime, not control runtime.
Oh, package on time. Yeah, 58.
Yeah, 58. So we should bump all our controllers to our 0.58 runtime version.
Mhm.
Backport that and do a patch release for everything
Cool.
at the end of
By the
month.
way,
I think
if we're gonna do that in the end of the month, I'm gonna be on vacations on the week, on the last week. So not next week, but the one after that. I'll be out the entire week.
are you back on the 28th?
Let me see. Yeah, I'm back on 28.
Okay, so let's aim for 28:30. 3 days. The last 3 days of the month to do the release.
Patch. Cool. Sounds good to me.
Victor, could you help us with some dependency updates? If we do it in one controller, could you try doing it? I don't know. I'll try do it in image reflector and you do it in image automation.
I can give it a try.
Yeah, so we have some tooling around this. There is a project called let me give you the name. It's called Go Mod Upgrade. So you run this. It's a repo on GitHub. You do a Go install of that. Then if you type Go Mod Upgrade in the root of a Git repo,
Yeah.
any controller, it will give you this interactive UI in the command line where you say, and then you check, yes, I want to update all these Flux CD / package versions to latest. Right, and then you do. I can do it for one controller. Then you try to do it for another one and see where we go. You need the latest Go version, and that's about it. No other tooling needed. Should be quite fine. Yeah, thank you for helping. It's do you have a Mac or what's your current
Yeah,
machine?
actually, I did use Go Mode Update before already, and like as we discussed, I never developed in Go, but I kind of use the ecosystem a little bit and stuff like that. Yeah, I have a Mac.
You have a Mac. You have Go installed on the Mac with Homebrew.
Likely not, and likely I will just use Nix for the project and something like that.
Sure, Nix is fine. The important thing is for these updates to work is you need to use the same Go minor version that we have in our Go mode files. So in a Go mode file where all the dependencies are, there is a version there set at the beginning of the file. And it's important when you do a dependency upgrade or you work on the code, then you compile it, you run tests and so on. It's very important to have at least that version. It's not a problem if you have a newer Go version, but an older Go version could result in all sorts of things happening locally for you. For example, Go has this, it's crazy good, but it's also complicated. Like if you have, let's say, Go 124 and Go mode is 123, 124 will download 123 while you type commands, and it will use that version inside to do it. So this is like baked into the Go tooling. So you don't need, like in Python, in these AMs, or in Node you have these tools that are installing different versions and so on. But Go is like really, really awesome from a tooling perspective. If you are on the latest, it knows how to downgrade itself.
That's
Right.
good.
What's
Yeah.
important is to keep up with latest, and then all things were great.
Awesome.
Yeah. Nix definitely has the latest version of Go. The packages there are very often upgraded. I think they are even faster than Homebrew. But Homebrew is also for Mac is really good for the languages. They keep up to date. I know 48 hours you have the new version and so on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Can you
I,
ping me in the related issue or your pull request that I should just take it?
yeah. When I will
Good
do
idea.
one, I will ping you, and maybe we can also chat on Slack afterwards if you get stuck with anything.
Yeah.
Should be straightforward. Cool. Thank
Awesome.
you. Yeah, another thing, Victor, if you have like a couple of minutes to review pull request made by Mateus. So we've added GitHub app authentication. We talked about long time, like how can we move from
Yeah.
SSH keys and so on. So we decided, okay, there is the GitHub app. For GitLab, it was the app is called.
I think so. Yeah.
Something around that. And we got the first implementation out from all that RHC for GitHub app first. And Mateo has a PR opening the website with a blog post explaining like why you should move from SSH keys or tokens to that. So maybe you could read the introduction and see if we can maybe make it less verbose. I feel like we are explaining too much, and because it's too much, maybe it confuses people. Mateus, can you paste your pull request here for Victor to look over it? And yeah, I'll probably reach out to GitLab to get someone to work on the GitLab app thing. If it's similar to GitHub, I'm not sure. I never used the GitLab app. But I think the motivation is the same, right? In a way, you don't want to link Flux to a personal identity, to a personal account, which is a personal access token. And you don't want to use these SSH keys that, if you lost it, you have to rotate it. You should rotate SSH keys at some point, like keeping them forever is also bad. And I think the Azure DevOps now we do workload identity, and for GitHub and GitLab, sadly, there is no workload identity that can work with them. You need to work with OEDC-like APIs. GitHub app is not actual factual OEDC, is their own thing, but it gets us closer to this idea where you still have a secret, so it's not as good as workload identity where you just assign an iron role, still have a secret, but the actual token that gets over the wire is ephemeral. It expires, I think for GitHub app is 1 hour, right? So
yeah.
Or more, or anyway.
But in any case, in our implementation, we are capping any tokens to at most 1 hour. And in fact,
so we rotate.
And we actually also capped to 80% of that, which is 48 minutes, because that's what Kubelet does, right? It rotates tokens on 80% of their life.
Yeah, so I don't know how exactly to express that, but it's definitely an advantage, I don't know, from man-in-the-middle attacks perspective or anything like, if someone gets that token, it's not forever. While if someone gets your GitHub personal access token, that's really, really bad. And we saw what happened like just before KubeCon with someone getting hacked and they pushed that GitHub action, then it was really messy. And
Yeah, actually, for GitLab, that's why we always recommend using OCI artifacts and the deploy token instead of SSH keys. It's still long running, but you can just restrict it to the container registry of GitLab.
yeah, there is an issue with this from a Flux feature perspective. If you use deploy keys are by nature read-only. You can't have a deploy key that allows you to write to Git, and that means it's impossible to use image automation. We found a way with Mateus how to run image automation in GitHub using the kind GitHub action. So we have a GitHub workflow that runs every hour, or however you can trigger it, whatever, it doesn't matter. But the idea is we spin up a kind cluster there, we deploy Flux image automation inside the kind cluster, and we mount the GitHub ephemeral token to image automation. And we assign that token with write access only for the duration of the workflow. And then we wait for the controllers to figure out, oh, this needs updating, opens all the pull requests. Then when it shuts down, that token is automatically invalidated, right?
Nice.
So it's basically depend about a more advanced version of it that knows all the things that Flux policies and all of that stuff. But you no longer, if you are on GitLab, if you are on GitHub and you can use GitHub Actions, you are no longer tied to running the automation on an actual cluster. Now, I'm not sure if GitLab has a similar thing where in the GitLab runner could create a kind cluster. I'm not sure if
actually we use K3s even in our own Kubernetes integration test suite. It's a single. I don't know whether in GitHub you might be able to do it for like. So I'm not very familiar with GitHub Actions. I just know that it's like a very step-like fashion. So it would be basically a single step where you run a cluster, and if you have multiple steps, that means a cluster for each separate cluster for each step.
In GitHub, like you don't even need to have an action that installs kind or anything. I think kind today and many other CLIs are like already embedded in the Ubuntu latest VM image they have. You're just writing shell, So if like I imagine
that's doable.
It's also a VM, right? With thing like you can write shell there and
Wait, but in the link you posted,
you can have a service that runs besides your job, and that way we start a K3s cluster besides your job, and as long as that job is running, you can actually access that service. It could be even PostgreSQL, it could be anything. In this case, it's K3s.
So this will definitely work for us, because if we can spin up the K3s cluster, then in the script section, we'll do Flux install, then apply all the policies, whatever from the repo. What I'm not sure, how can we provision this token for GitLab?
Do we have this ephemeral token? Yeah, I suppose we do. Like probably
there is an ephemeral token for the CI pipeline. I mean for the job, but that job is not allowed to write back to the repo. I think it might be never ongoing discussions for years to allow this job document to be more customized so that in some cases it could write back to the repo. But as far as I know, by default, this ephemeral token is not allowed to write to the repo.
Okay. So No luck. Yeah. Yeah, I'm guessing how
But at the
does
end of the day, like it depends. I mean, if you're just if you want to update only that repo, we can do that in GitHub with the ephemeral token. But if you want, for example, in control plane D2 reference architecture, we run the image update automation in one repo and we commit to other repos. So at the end of the day, we're stuck with long-lived credential anyway. You know, if you're like,
Yeah,
updating in other repos.
let me add some links. I'm just adding to the docs a link. So this CI job token permissions, it can read the repo, I think, that you are in. No, it can only read the changelog even there. No, it cannot write the repo for sure.
Oh, okay. It's fine. We'll need to write at some point some docs around how to run image automation inside the GitLab runner with K3s cluster and group token or whatever that has write access. But that token will not be stored in a cluster, it will be stored in GitLab secrets. Right. So it kind of moves all the secret part outside of actual clusters. And
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I just
that's
found
the benefit of like, you're not running this CI stuff inside your cluster, right? Like you
Yeah.
don't need to have write power to Git inside a cluster. So that there's a little this benefit, right?
It's public facing
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
attack surface. Yeah.
Yeah. Even though you still need, like, depending, like in GitHub, okay, in GitHub you can use the ephemeral token only if your image repository and policies and update automation are in that repo and you are targeting that repo. If you like you're targeting another repo, then you still need a long-lived secret, just like we're gonna do in GitLab secrets.
yeah.
So the major
Yeah.
advantage is not running in a real cluster.
Yeah, actually, I just found that it's behind the feature flag, but actually users can authorize the ephemeral job token to write back to the Git repo.
Okay.
Oh, great. So
Cool.
same thing we have in GitHub. So at least for same repo, you can use the ephemeral token.
Yep.
Cool.
And actually in GitLab, you can authorize, sorry, just somebody left. You can authorize your second project. So how to say that? You are running your pipeline in project A, and in project B, you can say that the ephemeral token from project A can do stuff in project B. So that's possible in GitLab.
Oh, that's awesome.
Actually an
Because in GitHub
advantage
it's
over
impossible.
GitHub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually, to give you a rough idea, like actually, like CI is known to be more mature in GitLab. So typically, what you can do in GitHub, you can do in GitLab a little bit different mental model. Like we don't have those step-like setup. There is something similar, but it's more just like Bash, basically, the worst type of CI that you can have.
What I'm starting to explore is the possibility of creating actions that are actually portable from GitHub to GitLab and back, because
Okay.
the organization that I'm working at I have to work on GitLab, and that means for my day-to-day work, I don't have access to the GitHub Actions ecosystem for the most
Here you
part,
go.
right?
Here you go. This is very much early stage, but I know that some customers use it in production. The idea is that is actually as GitLab is really more powerful in how it integrates with the platform than GitHub Actions. But GitHub has this huge ecosystem of actions. GitLab had the idea like, what if we just allow you to use a GitHub action in GitLab to compose jobs? And that's the link that I just shared. Steps is basically the way how you can run GitHub actions in GitLab. There might be some limitations.
Up because I had no idea about this.
I was actually the PM before being sent away for this for like 3 weeks. And it's at this stage they were, it's rather limiting. No, it's not limiting. There are some restrictions that you have to accept, but actually it works really well. And I don't know whether they managed to leave those restrictions already. Like you have to use the container offered by GitLab because that has the runtime that's needed for this, or you have to build such a container with that runtime. But it was on the roadmap relatively early on to lift, for example, this restriction.
Nice. Cool.
Really important for there to be compatibility for me because while I work on GitLab, our organization's only public-facing presence is on GitHub. So, and we're a government, so we have to be responsive to Freedom of Information Act requests, and a lot of our code will wind up public if anyone ever asks for it. And it will be public on GitHub. So if we want it to be any good or, usable by anyone, then we're going to have to make sure it's portable to GitHub.
Makes sense. Yeah. And
sorry, I just want to say that what we might be able to do with these steps link that I just shared is to create a GitHub action for Flux to do what you just said with the kind cluster and so on, that runs image automation in the pipeline. And actually it would, even GitHub and GitLab users could use it with basically a few lines of documentation.
yeah,
I don't know if
that would be awesome. Yeah.
that much value or not, but seems to be feasible based on the discussion,
Yeah, I was just thinking like, why wouldn't we in GitHub you can also make this reusable workflow where people are saying, oh, I'm going to trust the Flux organization, I'm going to run either actions from there or the whole workflow. Yeah, maybe we should try to publish the GitHub one first, then figuring out what things are portable from it. Can we make like with small modifications, I don't know, replace kind with K3s. It really does not matter if it's a Kubernetes cluster, Flux will work on it, right? But what small changes we can do to have also a GitLab version of it and document that token stuff, that's the most important thing. Document the access, the right, how can give it right access without from inside the runner being GitHub or GitLab. Right, and have this doc where we tell people, yeah, you can achieve a safer Flux deployment in your actual clusters by moving these to your CI, because image automation is in fact like Dependabot, like Renovate and so on, something that does not necessarily needs to be deployed in actual production infrastructure. It can be put aside there. Yeah. Cool. Okay, I need to jump in another meeting. Thank you very much, Victor, for attending and
I set it up in my
to help
calendar
us.
recording meeting. So as long as I don't have another job, I plan to join.
Awesome. Cool. Okay. Have a nice week, everyone. I'll see you next week. Bye.